Here with Braxton Amos, beginning of August. Still in the middle of your wrestling season, kind of. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thanks for having me on.
Hey, so we were talking a little bit before camera, but the last time everybody saw you, you were at Fargo. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened there?
So I in Greco, when I wrestled my quarters match, after the match, it felt like I tweaked my knee. Not sure really what happened or how I did it. But I went to bed. It was aching. I mean, it was sore, but it wasn't terrible. Everybody at Fargo gets banged up a little bit. It's
Sure.
a tough tournament. And when I woke up the next morning, I couldn't walk. My knee was giving out on me.
Yeah.
I had a hard time warming up. So my parents wanted to just cut the cord there. I had All-American, just after one knee surgery, you don't want another one.
Right.
So
Same knee?
we were same knee, totally different part of the knee though.
Okay.
So we were worried about it just because it wasn't stable at all. If you go back and watch my semis match, it gave out 3 or 4 times in the match, and it was tough wrestling Greco on one leg. But I went to the trainers, had them tape it up, talked to my coaches and parents into letting me wrestle the semis and just see what was going on with it. I was able to get through the semis, and it got less stable and started hurting more. So I talked to a few of the coaches there, and talked to some of the college coaches that I have good relationships with, and all of them said the same thing of, if it was the NCAAs or Worlds, wrestle through it. You got one more match. But, I mean, as prestigious as Fargo is, I have high school season. I have one more season left of high school. Save what could be your last season. Save your last season or wrestle and lose the entire season, maybe. So it was a group decision of me pulling the plug at Fargo, but the doctors out here in West Virginia got me in fast and get me healed up.
So it doesn't require surgery. You say it's a sprain or
Yep.
strain?
My kneecap dislocated, which was causing a lot of the pain, and then it was a severe sprain of the LCL, and they're thinking PCL as well.
Okay.
So they're putting me through a month of rehab, and I'll be back to good.
Sounds good. Now, as you're going in, I mean, wrestlers, athletes at a high level, when they're going into something banged up, it can change their mindset. Was it in your mind in that semifinal match, or were you able to push it out? I know it gave out on you, but what's your mental approach when you're wrestling with an injury like that?
Looking back, I didn't have the best mindset going into it. If I had to change it, I probably wouldn't have wrestled. Knowing what I know now, I would have wrestled through it and just said to heck with it. Let's go try for the finals too. But in the moment, it was, I got silver in Pan Am's and Greco. I'm on the junior national team for Greco. Greco is what I do. I can't let guys that are quote unquote freestylers or leg grabbers come in and beat me in Greco. I was like, looking back, that's not the best way to handle things, but that was what was going through my head, and it wasn't it was more of a pride thing on myself. I went into the match knowing the guy was really good. That kid I mean, he's top 15 in America. You know, he's good. But kind of the go out fighting.
Yeah.
And then my parents and coaches talked some sense into me. I was like, well, I probably shouldn't have done that.
So you're coming in one of the highest ranked kids pound for pound in the country. Do you feel like that's pressure, or is it just your own internal pressure that just always wants to win and beat leg grabbers?
It was internal.
Yeah.
The rankings are fun, and the rankings are definitely something to be proud of. But it's at the end of the day, it's a number. But I knew that if I didn't at least give it one more try on that and just see what I could do banged up, I would always wonder, well, what if? I don't like wondering what ifs.
Yeah.
So I wanted to at least try it.
Gotcha.
The internal drives a lot more than the external, and I think it's that way with a lot of the guys.
Most American wrestling fans, they're starting to catch on to freestyle as the U.S. team is having more success at the senior level. But at the world level, you and I are. Well, I'm a retired wrestler. You're a current wrestler. Most people think of Greco as having the best athletes around the world. Do you have an opinion about that?
With the exception of the United States, I believe.
We were just talking about internationally. Most countries think the Greco wrestlers are their most athletic, and you were going to give me your thoughts on that.
Okay, so from what I've noticed and just talking to people, like especially over in Europe and stuff, like their athletes go like they're top tier guys, like they're Jordan Burroughs and Kyle Snyders of Estonia, Sweden. They all go Greco. As to where our guys go freestyle. And I mean, it's I guess just the way that they're brought up.
Yeah.
They're brought up freestyle Greco. We're brought up folk style and then transition to freestyle and then transition to Greco sometimes.
Yeah.
So I understand why their medal counts higher than ours. I think the guys at USA Greco are doing everything humanly possible to get our guys caught up and to that level. But it's harder for us to catch up.
Yeah.
And I think as we start competing younger in Greco, look at Colton Schultz. He disproved the Americans can't win in Greco theory that a lot of the world had.
Right. So how has Greco helped your folk style?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean,
how is it? What has helped you the most? Ties?
So if you and a lot of my sophomore year was tough because I lost freshman year to my knee. I was coming back. Wasn't super confident in shooting yet, just because I was a small 220. I was walking around 210. A lot of the seniors were cutting down from 230. And something that Greco helped me do was, I got to an underhook, an overhooks. They helped work my control ties a lot more. And I'm not saying that freestyle didn't help those, but Greco is where I saw growth in my control ties.
Yeah.
And don't get me mistaken. I still have a lot to work on when it comes to my control ties because it's an ever evolving sport. But it's Greco's definitely helped me control things, especially when I'm not always the bigger, faster guy.
Gotcha. So you talked about coming in light when you were younger at 210. What's your walk around weight right now?
Right now I'm at about 225, just because I haven't worked out. I haven't really watched what I ate since Fargo. At Fargo, I ate breakfast, lunch, and was drinking water for most of the day before weigh-ins and making 220 easy.
Really?
Yeah, just, I'm not doing anything crazy, just throw a long sleeve shirt on, throw some shorts on, go work out. And it's not anything too bad. But I'm waiting to see who all is going to Ironman before I make a decision of what weight to go this year. And we'll see what happens then.
So, are you talking about possibly going down or going up? Going down to 97 or
95?
95. I'm thinking of college already.
No.
So, I'm guessing you're not really making it. So, you may go down. Do you see yourself in college wrestling
97?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see myself as a 97 in college.
Gotcha. Just talking a little bit about that, you released kind of like your short list: Ohio State, Penn State, Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, Wisconsin. Is that still your short list? Have you taken official visits yet?
I haven't taken any official visits. I did something kind of unorthodox. A lot of the guys are committing early and taking their visits early. I'm doing the opposite. I spent some time out in Oklahoma training through a camp. That way there wasn't any violations or wasn't anything that they had to deal with coming back on them. And I trained with them and kind of hung out with some of their guys, getting ready for Fargo. Did the same with Virginia Tech. I was down there for about 2 weeks working out through their RTC, which from what I hear is changing now to like club or whatever.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I think it's either the NCAA just passed something about it. I haven't read about it yet, but they just changed the definition of RTC. So we'll see how much I get to work out with surrounding schools now. But and then getting ready for the Open, I worked out with Penn State's RTC. I've worked out at the Ohio RTC a ton in the last couple of years, and then I'll take my officials to Wisconsin and Ohio State this fall. Actually in about a month. And then since I've spent time with all the other schools, I'll make a decision.
Gotcha. Then no one's probably going to watch this. You want to give us the inside track and you're like, give me the odds on each school? I'm kidding.
No, you're good.
I'm just messing with you. Would you recommend this? There's a lot of kids who tell me the recruiting process is super stressful. Have you liked this kind of delayed stress or the delayed decision making, or any advice you'd give out?
I'd have to give the advice of enjoy it. It's definitely fun because there's especially around this time for the juniors, because you're like, oh my God, he's an Olympian and he called me unsolicited whatsoever.
Yeah.
But after a while, it gets stressful. And coaches will tell you, well, if it's not stressful, just make the decision. And I think that's the easy way out. Dealing with the stress, seeing how coaches deal with the long game is good, because I've had coaches who have not dealt with it well, that have said, here's the offer, take it or leave it. This is the last time that you'll have this offer. And if they're making that now, when they know you have other options, what are they going to do when you're signed on campus, part of their team?
Yeah.
They're great guys. I respect them, but it's just not the environment that I would want to be in. So, there's no right way to handle recruiting, but I think taking your time going through the process is definitely a good thing. And you walk on campus, and if you know, you know. And if it's right, cross your T's, dot your I's, and make sure everything's in line. But if it's right, it's a right fit.
When do you think you'll make an announcement?
You know, we were going to make it during the homecoming football game, during halftime. But since I'm not playing football this year now, I don't really know when. At the latest, Super 32, obviously, like making the open announcement. But realistically, probably before Super 32, I'll make the open announcement, and probably a week or two before that, I'll make the tough calls to 4 other coaches saying, "Hey, I love you guys, but I'm sorry."
Right.
Yeah.
Which is never easy from talking to a lot of different guys, right? You got a relationship with them, and you know how good it is, I guess, based on how they treat you afterwards. Right.
You know, I have, UNC is awesome. I love those guys, and I still talk to Coach Scott and Coach Ramos a lot. But UNC doesn't have engineering. I want to be an engineer after wrestling if that's the career path that I can go. And they were super great guys about it. And I've had other coaches that are great about it, and I've had some coaches that I called them, passed them at Fargo, "Hey coach, what's up?" and they ignore me. So it's a little bit of hit or miss,
right?
And if they treat you wrong afterwards, you know it's the right call. And if they're great guys, if they truly want what's best for you, then I'm not getting you wrong. They'll still mess with you about it. They're still going to get their little needles in every once in a while about their school.
Told you so.
Yeah, right? Yeah, they're gonna, or like just kind of, and we laugh about it. And it's not the end of the world.
Right.
Now, if you make the wrong call and you're in the transfer portal 9 months later, little different story. But knock on wood, that's not going to happen.
I will tell you. So I don't have access to that, nor do you. But I know a couple coaches have shared with me just how vast that portal is right now.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable. Dozens of pages or more than a dozen pages. That's a lot of kids. Maybe rushing the process. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's great to make the right fit. Do all these schools? I don't know about all these schools. Do they all have engineering programs that are on your short list?
On my short list, they do.
They do. Okay.
Yeah, and that was definitely part of the decision of I bring up UNC just because I know those guys, and I know they wouldn't mind me talking about it. And UNC is a super good school,
right?
And I think Coleman and them are going to do great things with the program.
Yeah.
But engineering is something I'm good with numbers. Engineering is something that academically I couldn't go without. So it happens.
Got it. As a Greco wrestler, I'm assuming you see yourself wrestling through college and trying to pursue a senior level wrestling career.
Yeah,
I don't want to pigeonhole you as Greco. Things could change, but as a you're into those the senior level styles, we'll say.
Yeah, no, definitely. If I've seen enough really good wrestlers destroy their body in college, so I'm not going to say I'm 100%. 2024 bust. Yep. But if I have the choice and I'm in the situation to have the opportunity to, yeah, I would love to try to chase a couple medals after college.
Got it. Well, that would be an Olympic red shirt your senior year if you went 5 years, but I'm not. Who's counting? I'm just whatever.
Well, as of right now, they're not in 2028. So
right, this is true. It could be the last Olympics.
Yeah.
Let's just step back. Tell me a little bit how you were introduced to the sport.
So, my dad wrestled in middle school, and had, from what he says, a crazy coach. He's my high school coach now. He's one of our assistants, super great guy, super nice. Couldn't see him being crazy at all, but the years will do that to you.
Yeah.
And so I was 3 years old, had a ton of energy, had no sort of how to behave whatsoever, and mom and dad didn't have anything to hang over my head of, if you're good at school, no X, Y, or Z. Or if you're bad at school, no X, Y, or Z.
Right.
And I loved WWE. They sold it as, hey, let's go, you want to try this wrestling thing? I took that as, let's go jump off the top rope.
Sounds like a South Park episode we're setting up here.
Right. So I tried it and fell in love with the sport. It has its ups and downs, yes, but it got to the point where still, like, 5-year-old me would be bad at school. Mom and dad would get a phone call home. They would say, "Oh, no wrestling practice," and I would bawl and cry and throw a fit just because I loved wrestling. And it, at some point in time, when if I got, if I was bad at school now and they said no wrestling, I'd say, that sucks, but all right. But I still love the sport a lot.
What about the sport do you love the most?
Just the discipline you need for it. To be a top level guy, you have to sacrifice a lot. And I mean, if you look at the NFL, NBA, and not knocking football or basketball guys, but you don't have to sacrifice as much to be a top level athlete there. I mean, you have some guys that are just naturally gifted enough to be undisciplined and still be at a high level. In wrestling, you don't have that. If you look at our top level guys, they're all sacrificing the right things and doing the right things to make national and world teams. So I like that aspect a lot because it keeps me true to who I am.
Whenever I hear wrestlers talk about having the discipline, or the love of the sport gives them a discipline. Tell me a little bit about your mental approach to the sport. You sound cerebral in your approach.
I love the sport a lot, and I'm trying to constantly learn and develop every aspect of it. I've traveled a lot. I've had the opportunity to travel a lot. I've learned from some of the best guys in the world. Olympic gold medalists, world champs, you name it. I've got to work with them, and I couldn't thank my parents enough for letting me have the opportunity to do it.
Can you give me a couple of the people who've had the biggest influence on you so far, besides your parents?
Definitely Moran Karchalava. You know Moran?
I know the name.
Yeah. So his son, he runs a club out of Columbus now, or just outside of Columbus. Carson, his son, oldest son, he just went to Ohio State. Was one of the top guys overall. And he runs a club. I started going there 2nd grade, and I'm still going all the way through a senior. So he's had a huge impact in how I approach things.
How long of a drive is that?
About 2 hours.
Okay.
It's not terrible.
Okay.
When I was younger, we would go every Monday, Wednesday, and every other weekend. But now it's more of a training camp type environment of, all right, we're getting ready for Super 32. I'm going to go up there a couple weeks in a row and get ready. He's developed some of the best guys out there right now.
Yeah.
The Lee brothers. Nick, Joe, and Matt that are all, I don't know where Matt's going to school, but Nick and Joe are both at Penn State.
Yep.
It's tough to get there. It's
Yeah.
tough to get to that level. But the amount of guys that he's produced that are at that high level are astounding.
Yeah.
You know. But no, Moran's had a huge influence. Burroughs has had a huge influence in me. Just because, I mean, I've known Jordan personally since I was in 7th grade. I won an essay contest, so Flips Wrestling flew him out to do a clinic and to talk to us and hang out with us for a couple days.
Was that at home?
Yeah. Yeah, so he...
Pretty cool.
Yeah, I know, right? It's weird how one essay can like change your entire perspective on wrestling. You know, before that I was like, real results based. You know, I focused on winning more than how I wrestled. And you know, talking to Jordan and later Kyle Snyder, talking to the guys that are that good and are very humble, and are just in love with the sport and trying to, you know, I mean, they're hands down some of the best American wrestlers ever.
Right.
And they're still trying to learn. And that really opened up my eyes of like, man, I'm pretty good. You know, I'm not bad for West Virginia, but there's so much more I could be doing to try to learn and get to be hopefully like one of them.
Right.
You know,
it's one of those things. Like the more you know, the more you realize there's a lot more to know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because those guys, you know, personify developing. I mean, Jordan Burroughs has changed his wrestling style from college to senior level several times over.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, in the beginning, he was just blast doubling anybody that wanted to wrestle him. Now he's, and the older he becomes, the more film there is out there on him.
Yeah.
So he's having to, you know, pull some crazy stuff out of the hat that he had back in when he was like 2012, winning matches by just burying dudes. But
right.
Now he's having to get more savvy with it.
Right. Yeah. Grown up, getting all grown up. Tell me, are you nervous at all about making your decision as far as choosing the college or not?
I am to an extent.
Yeah.
You know, you'll always wonder what if I went to the other school.
Yeah.
But you know, I feel comfortable with all 5. You know, I know all 5 on a very personal level. And I feel at home at all 5 places. So I feel like wherever I choose will help me get to be at the level I want to be at. So long story, to shorten it up, no, I'm not really that nervous.
Hey, tell people about West Virginia wrestling. I mean, Greg Jones came out of there, and there's some good wrestlers, but you know, it's in the shadow of like Pennsylvania, Ohio. Tell people who don't know much about it, you know, what it's about. And
so, like WVU or just the state of West Virginia?
Just, you know, no, like the wrestling component of West Virginia wrestling.
You know, West Virginia it is shadowed by a lot of other places. I mean, but if you think about it, West Virginia has, hang on, I'll look it up. It has about 1.5 million people.
Right.
So take Columbus and spread it out over an entire state. We're not doing too bad.
Right.
You know, if you put it in that terms, we're not doing too bad because I mean it's hard to get our top guys together and train. So I mean we have a lot of really good and really talented guys that could, with other good training partners and good development coaches. I mean, I'm not saying the coaches around here are bad, but having everybody together in one room on the same page would help a lot. Gotcha. You know, and distance is definitely a thing out here.
Right.
But we're not bad.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Humphrey's at Lehigh right now. I mean, I think he's going to have a tremendous sophomore year, and
Yeah.
I can see.
Got-
People always
Yeah.
ask where he's from. I'm like, he's not from Pennsylvania. Anyway.
No. No. Josh and I were teammates for a year.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came out of red shirt, but we'll talk about it. Anyway. Did you go to Pittsburgh for NCAAs?
Yeah, I was there for the last day.
And what were your thoughts about that whole? I mean, were you like excited? Like, could you wait to be there? I mean, what are your emotions? What are your thoughts?
I was. It was awesome to be there. Because I always before with NCAAs, I would be like, oh yeah, that's cool. Watch like the big marquee matchups, and then just go back to whatever I was doing because I didn't really know anyone else. I liked wrestling. I loved the sport. I loved doing it, but I didn't like watching it. If that makes sense.
Sure.
Like watching high level, like 2-to-1 matches, like just the everyday fan doesn't like those matches. I'm not saying I love 2-to-1 matches, but I can appreciate what's going into them now. But I was super excited because a lot of the guys I've been training with, have grown up with, are now there. I know, like I've wrestled with Colin Moore, I've wrestled with Miles Martin, I've wrestled with who was another guy? Makai Lewis. I've been around those guys. That I like hanging around those guys. So I had a little bit more invested in this one because I knew the coaches, I knew the wrestlers, and I knew the fan base of how packed it's going to be, how loud it's going to be, and it was just I was excited to be there just because I knew what I was walking into this time.
Got it. That's fun. Yeah, when you know the guys, it makes a big difference, right? It's a personal connection. How do you mentally deal with a loss?
It's frustrating for me just because I know most of the time what that other guy's doing. Like out in Vegas, I lost to Nick Boykin. Nick's a good guy. He's a good wrestler. I mean, I hope he does well in Estonia for the U.S. But I know what he was doing at that training camp, getting ready for it. I knew how I should have been scoring on him in the match. It's just frustrating to me because I know that if I wrestle well, I can beat the majority of not senior level guys. I'm not going to beat anyone like that's in medal contention or senior level or senior national team contention, but I can hang there with a lot of good upper level guys, and it's just frustrating to me that I draw a blank, like just kind of daydream off in the middle of matches, and all of a sudden I'm down 4 or 5 points. I'm like, and I just make stupid mistakes on my way back, and it's.
Can I just ask you a question about that? So when you say you're daydreaming, are you thinking like distracted thoughts, or you're just not being aggressive, or?
It's just it's not like I'm thinking about something else. It's just like a black screen
in my head. About pizza for dinner,
right? No, it's just when I should be thinking, all right, move them, take a shot, move them, fake a high dive, try to throw him on his head. It's oh crap, he has me in a front headlock. What do I do? So and it's something I've been working on a lot, and I think it showed in Fargo that my situational awareness is getting better. But it's something I'm dealing with a lot, especially in those tough matches of how to deal with it as far as, not drawing a blank.
Gotcha.
And as far as taking losses, I mean, it happens. Not everybody can be undefeated.
Right.
And if you look at it more and more, nobody is. I mean, Kyle lost to Gadsden. JB lost to Dake. Things happen.
Yeah.
And one loss or even a few losses doesn't define a career or high school career or anything. You lose. You learn from it. It doesn't mean you forget it. By all means, you don't forget it, but you have to have a little bit of a short memory of, all right, I lost, it hurts, it sucks, but you deal with it. You move on, and you make sure it doesn't happen again, or that mistake that you made doesn't happen again.
Right. Hey, I'm running up against a time limit here. Can I get you a lightning round here?
Okay.
All right. What's your favorite food?
Pizza.
Favorite music?
Country.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs. Definitely dogs.
Someone you don't like wrestling?
Oh. Like I like them personally, but hate wrestling against them?
I don't know. Whatever you want it to be.
I hate wrestling friends.
Okay.
Like Connor, Doucette. I hate wrestling against him.
Gotcha. Next time we're going to see you wrestle?
Right now, thinking Super 32. AJ's still banged. Ferrari's still hurt, so who's number one's out, sadly.
Yep. Does any of your decision about what you choose rest on AJ?
As far as weight class wise, yes.
Yeah.
As far as college decision wise, him and I have kind of talked about it a little bit, and I have a feeling it'll work itself out before him and I even make a decision.
Gotcha. Hey, I really appreciate you taking the time.
No, thank you.
Looking forward to watching you this season and watching you wrestle in college.
Thanks.